What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another episode of Predict the Prem, where me and my brother go head-to-head in predicting Premier League outcomes. The scores at the moment are 297 to Sim, 318 to me going into the last few weeks of the season. And the way the scoring works, it's 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result. And the star man, once you pick them, you cannot pick them again for the rest of the season. And it's 5 points for a goal, 3 points for an assist. But just before we get into our predictions, we do have 3 games to review from the midweek games, starting off with Liverpool against Fulham. It finished 1-0 to Liverpool on the day. Sim went 3-0, I went 3-1. I mean, I watched the other 2 games, but I didn't see much of this game. But I was quite surprised Liverpool only getting 1 goal.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Fulham were a bit unlucky. First of all, the penalty decision was a bit of a dodgy one. Diop gets robbed by Nunes. There didn't seem to be contact, maybe very little contact on Nunes, and he went over. Referee gives the penalty. VAR doesn't intervene. There's a big discussion on social media whether it was a penalty or not. I didn't think so.
It's classic Anfield, though, isn't it?
Well, Liverpool at it once again. We saw all those decisions in the Spurs game last week, and now they get this again. I didn't think it was a penalty. Yeah, I thought it was very harsh. I thought Fulham were well worth a point, to be honest, actually. They played quite well and were quite unlucky not going through on... they were quite unlucky, basically had a few chances. Liverpool were just a bit subdued. It was very classic midweek fixture. They just got over the line. They did enough. They might have gotten a few other goals, but it wasn't a great game of football, to be honest. And Fulham missed a few chances. Maybe could have snatched a point, but Liverpool feel like they just got the job done.
Yeah, so we both gain a point for that one. Let's move on to the Manchester City against West Ham, which finished 3-0 to Man City on the day. Sim went 3-1, I went 2-0. Again, a 5-pointer is somewhere in the middle, but I was so disappointed not to get a 5-pointer for this one. I thought West Ham defended and played really well in that first half, but once Man City scored, they took complete control, and that Foden deflected goal right at the end kicking me out of 5 points, but Erling Haaland breaking the all-time Premier League scoring record for goals in a season, and it was a great goal to match as well.
Yeah, what an unbelievable striker he is. Lovely dink finish as well. Classic Haaland running in behind. You can't stop him when he's in that position. I felt in the first half, to be fair, Man City, although they had trouble breaking through, they did have a few chances. Rodri hit the post, and that were like agonised, and he rolled across the line and didn't bounce for him. West Ham, though, can be proud of their display, but because you can see the set piece 5 minutes into the second half must be very, very frustrating considering how well they defended. They offered a bit of a threat on the counter, but probably not enough to really ever worry Man City. Even at 1-0, there was not really a concern that West Ham are going to get back in the game. Although there were points in the game where Paqueta seemed to have a big influence, but unfortunately wasn't able to convert that.
Didn't he?
Yeah, he had a really and you get the feeling if he was like in Man City's team, he'd be brilliant. But you feel like at West Ham at the moment, he's playing well, but like he needs to be in like a more possession-based team. You just get that feeling with Paqueta. But he's good. Look, he's looking like a good player. But Man City retain their top position ahead of Arsenal with a game in hand as well. They're 2 points clear with a game in hand, I think. So I guess at half-time, Arsenal fans may be thinking maybe there's a chance City were dropping points, but they got the job done in the end. Fair play to them.
I always felt like Man City is like they were kept pushing. West Ham kept being resolute, but I thought it was only a matter of time until they broke the deadlock, and that what it seemed to be. But moving on to Brighton against Manchester United, last game of the week was 1-0 to Brighton, both of us going for 2-1, so both of us getting a point on this game, and it was a really interesting game of football. This, I thought, in the first half, definitely should have been more goals. I thought both teams had really good chances to go ahead. None of them took them, but in the second half, Brighton just took complete control, and I think they got their rewards right at the end with that penalty in the 99th minute. McAllister scored, so I thought it was a deserved 3 points for Brighton.
Yeah, it was a really good tactical battle in that first half. I thought Brighton were dominating and creating chances. Matoma had a one-on-one, and they had several openings. But the Man United on the counter, also Anthony and Rashford had a few chances, forcing saves out of Steele and you're thinking it could have gone either way, but as I say, second half, it was literally one-way traffic. United completely were just completely undone. They had no way of attacking in that second half, United. It was really impressive from Brighton, and like they made a number of changes as well just to keep that freshness. And what's so impressive about Brighton is they had Montmey Caicedo right back, they had Enciso, Buonanotte in the forward line.
He looked exciting, by the way, Enciso.
They both are Enciso, man. I've been saying about the last few weeks, he has been absolutely amazing. There was one point in the game where he out muscles Casemiro and like dribble past him and like gets the shot. I'm like, oh my god, like who is this guy? He's like 18 years of age and he's doing that. And like imagine once he like gets regular game time. I think he started like the past 4 games or something, but he looks like a real star in the making. Buonanotte as well looked bright on the right hand side.
He like cut inside from a few players on the right hand side, beat a few players, and I tried this like little curling effort that went wide. I mean, they're all trying such good things at the moment. Mitoma was probably the most frustrating of the lot on the pitch yesterday.
Yeah, and even he was giving Wan-Bissaka a lot of trouble, but he was, ultimately he should have done more. But they deserve their win. But like, you can see why, like, Brighton, with their model, they're going to get big money probably for Caicedo in the summer, probably going to get big money from McAllister. And you can see why they're just willing to do deals, because they've got these other players just lined up, ready to come in and performing. And as well, what's even more impressive is just the flexibility of De Zerbi with players. He's played Gross at right back. He's played Caicedo right back. Doesn't seem to hurt them. Everyone seems to know what they're doing. So really, really impressive. Great win. Will it be enough to put them in the top 4 race? I mean, they're 8 points behind with a game in hand. Probably a bit too much to do, but it really does cement them in the top 6, albeit they do have some tough games left. But they're now a point clear of Spurs with 2 games in hand. So it's looking very good for Brighton, especially with the way they're playing.
Yeah, and it kind of like makes you think of those Graham Potter comments earlier on in the year or the season when the Brighton fans were booing him, and they were like, well, what are they booing about? They've never had it so good. Well, look at them now. Yeah,
unbelievable. In terms of Man United, though, they're now only 4 points in fourth, but they do have a game in hand on Liverpool, which is against Chelsea.
I think they'll be all right.
So they should be all right, but does it open up a bit? 4 points, only 4 points.
Yeah, but I don't think because there's so few games left of the season, I think Man United will just do enough to do it. I can't see Liverpool going over above Man United, to be honest. But anyway, that is our perspective. Let's move on to predict the Prem. A full host of Premier League games this week, starting off with Bournemouth against Chelsea. Sim's gone for 2-2. I've gone for 1-0 to Bournemouth. I think Chelsea are just absolutely shocking at the moment. Bournemouth surprising a few teams and getting results, to be honest. And I think it's going to be 3 points for Bournemouth this weekend. I think only slightly. I don't think Chelsea will let Bournemouth have too many goals, but I think they will get the 3 points. So I've gone for 1-0.
I just saw a few signs of life for Chelsea in that second half against Arsenal, albeit the game was already done. So I do feel like maybe they might kind of have... Look, they do have good attacking players. They might have an attacking performance in this game. Bournemouth, I think, already safe. So I think as well, I can see them kind of going at Chelsea, knowing Chelsea are definitely on the ropes at the moment, and they will have no worry about kind of going on the attack. So I do see a nice open game here at the Vitality, and I've gone for a 2-2 draw.
Moving on to Manchester City against Leeds. I've gone for 3-0. Sim's gone for 4-1.
4-1. Sam Allardyce's first game in charge. I feel like he's going to have some sort of way of setting up and trying to frustrate Man City, but maybe as well a few plans of how to attack. So I think maybe they might surprise with a few counter-attacks, but their defence, doesn't matter what they play, their defence quality-wise is just not up to standard at the moment. And I think Man City are just going to open them up way too easily, I feel, especially once they get the first goal. So I've gone for 4-1.
I've gone for 3-0. I think that Big Sam's going to set up to frustrate Man City, which is pretty obvious. And I think it could be a bit similar to the West Ham game in midweek, where Man City get a bit frustrated early doors. But I think once they get that goal, it'll be one-way traffic and it'll be a convincing victory for Man City. So I've gone for a repeat of 3-0 to Manchester City. Next up is Tottenham against Crystal Palace. Both of us gone for a ding-dong battle at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Sim's gone for 3-2 to Tottenham. I've gone for 4-3 to Tottenham. And funnily enough, both of these teams' last result was 4-3, which I'm only thinking about now. Crystal Palace against West Ham, Spurs losing 4-3 to Liverpool, and I can see another 4-3 here. Spurs' defence absolutely shocking all season. but our attack seems to be getting goals every week, so that's a good thing for us. And Crystal Palace, I mean, since Roy Hodgson has come in, there's been plenty of goals in their games, and I can just see a really open game here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, so I've gone for 4-3.
Yeah, and considering how we've played, especially in the second halves under Mason, I think we've been very creative and we've been creating chances, and I do expect us to do that against this Palace team, albeit Palace on their own with the attacks of Eze, Olise and Zaha playing really well at the moment, being really creative. They're going to be a big danger, and I can't see Spurs holding them out, so I've gone for 3-2.
Next up is Wolves against Aston Villa, Midlands derby here. Both of us going for 1-1. Why are you thinking 1-1?
Yeah, I think, as you say, it is a Midlands derby. I do see Wolves being up for it. I think Wolves are pretty much safe, but I think just for peace of mind, they will want probably an extra point or so just to make sure that they're definitely getting over the line. And I don't think they're going to give Villa anything easy in this game. Villa wasn't a fantastic performance against Man United. They have only won one of their last 3 as well, so maybe starting to slow down a tad. So I think it's going to be a very difficult game for Aston Villa as well. In this game, I do expect Wolves to give Aston Villa the ascendancy, being the underdogs, and I think Villa prefer to be kind of on the counter-attack a bit. So I've gone for a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I've also gone for 1-1, and I think that Wolves, on the back of a 6-0 drubbing last game, I think they're going to come out and try and be resolute and try give a reaction. Aston Villa as well, on the back of a defeat to Manchester United, where they didn't turn up to that game, and I think they're going to want a reaction too. So I got a feeling that both these teams might just cancel each other out a bit. So I've gone for 1-1 in the Midlands derby. Next up is Liverpool against Brentford. Again, we've gone for the exact same scoreline here in 2-1 to Liverpool. And Liverpool at Anfield, they usually do get the job done, get the result, and I expect that to happen again against a Brentford side which have absolutely nothing to play for. So I actually think it might be a good game of football, but I think Liverpool would just do enough to get the job done. Yeah,
I see Brentford hurting Liverpool on set pieces and maybe on counter-attacks, and they know how to play against Liverpool as well. They had a very good result against them earlier in the season, but I think Liverpool on a very good run. I think 5 straight wins at the moment, at home as well, with the front players really starting to play well. They had a decent win in midweek, a 1-0 win over the line against Fulham. So I do see Brentford giving them trouble, but I see Liverpool just about getting over the line. So 2-1.
Next up is a big clash up at the top with Newcastle and Arsenal. Sim's gone for 2-1 to Newcastle.
Yeah, I've gone for a Newcastle win. I think that will be... Arsenal got back on track in midweek against Chelsea with a very good win. So I think they come here with a bit more confidence than they would have had if they didn't win that game. But Newcastle on a roll at the moment. 3 straight wins, 4 wins the last 5. And as well, Gabriel's having a late fitness test. There's a very good chance he'll be missing from this game. So if he's missing, I think Arsenal's defence isn't going to be able to cope with what's increasingly becoming a very attacking Newcastle side. And I think they're going to struggle to contain them. I do see them getting a goal, but I think Newcastle will go over the line here, and that should probably seal their top 4 finish. So 2-1.
Yeah, I've gone for 3-1, taking into account the defensive woes that Arsenal are having at the moment with Gabriel and Saliba probably. Gabriel's probably out injured, Saliba definitely out injured, and I think that will play massively into Newcastle's hands in this game. I think at some point during the game, Arsenal are just going to have to completely go gung-ho if they want to have any chance of winning this title, and that's a very hard place to do it at Newcastle because they do have the players to pick you off, especially with the form that Isaac's in and the form that Callum Wilson's in. I just can see it being a tight game up to a stage, but then once Arsenal throw all caution to the wind, I can see Newcastle picking them off, actually, especially with the defence that Arsenal are going to have on the pitch. So I have gone for 3-1 to Newcastle. Next up is West Ham against Manchester United at the London Stadium. Both of us going for the exact same scoreline here again in 2-1 to Manchester United. And I think that West Ham, they know they're safe now. Man United still got the top 4 to think about. And I think it'll be a tight game, but I think Man United, with the form they're in, will get the job done.
I think West Ham are probably safe, but they're still only 4 points clear with 4 games to go. They'll probably feel like they can't take anything for granted. So I do expect a big performance, and I don't think they can afford to rest players, albeit they do have a European semi-final in midweek. So their minds might be on that. But I think Man United, a poor display and poor result in midweek. They have really poor away form as well, but I do think they'll respond on Sunday. So I think just sneaking 2-1. I do think it'll be a bit of a lucky win, but I reckon 2-1 United.
Next up, Fulham against Leicester. Finally, we've gone for different scorelines here. Sim's gone for 2-1 to Leicester.
Yeah, I've gone for them to scrape it. I think Fulham, as much as they've put some good displays in recent games against They put a good display against Liverpool last time out, and only sneaking a loss, and a decent display against Man City as well. It was a tight game, but at home to Leicester, I do think they're going to go for it a bit, and I do think that actually could play into Leicester's hands. Albeit, I think Leicester aren't defending so well at the moment. They were unlucky in a game against Everton, albeit they could have also lost that game. But I think if a game's a bit more open against a side who have nothing to play for, I think that'll suit Leicester. They're going to be fighting for everything, so I've gone for a 2-1 win to Leicester.
Yeah, I've gone for 1-1 because the way Fulham are playing at the moment, I know we've been saying Fulham are on the beach, but actually in the last couple of games, like you say, they've been performing well. Good performance at Anfield, good performance at home to City, and they lost 1-0 to Villa in the game before that. So they are facing a fourth loss in a row if they do lose this game, but I think their performances deserve a bit more than that, and I think after the losses they'll come into this game thinking they can actually get something out of the game. Leicester on the other hand as well, not getting the results, only one win in their last 5, and they need to start picking up more points if they want to stay in this league, and I think that this could be a bit of an end-to-end game, but I just couldn't split them, to be honest. I mean, I can't sit here and back Leicester to win with the way they're playing, and I couldn't really back Fulham to win because Leicester are just desperate for that win, and they do have firepower up front that they could turn something around. So I've just gone for 1-1 to be a bit safe. But next up is Brighton against Everton, and again, we've gone for the exact same scoreline in 2-0 to Brighton.
Yep, I've gone for, I think Brighton are going to completely dominate this game. I think it's going to be a matter of when, not if, they score. Everton, in this kind of game, against Leicester away, they were able to create chances, but I just don't see them getting enough of the ball in this game, to be honest. And I think when they do get the ball, Brighton are so intense in their pressing, I could just see them kind of winning the ball back very quickly. So I just think Everton will frustrate them for a time, but I think at the end of the day, Brighton will come out on top. So 2-0.
Yeah, kind of a similar thinking. But actually, funnily enough, Everton have only had one loss in their last 5 away games, albeit 2 or 4 of them have been draws and not one win. But the way Brighton are playing at the moment, you just can't look past them, to be honest. And the way Everton are playing too, I think this should be, on paper, a convincing victory for Brighton. Could even be more than 2-0. I mean, they scored 6 goals last week and made 5 changes to their team. So this Everton team should be scared coming up against this Brighton team. But I've gone for 2-0. Next up is Nottingham Forest against Southampton. Sim's gone for 0-0. I've gone for 2-1 to Nottingham Forest. And Nottingham Forest, again, they've had good home form all season. Southampton have been shocking pretty much all season. They look absolutely destined for the drop. And I think it will be a big 3 points to Nottingham Forest to steer them away from the drop.
Yeah, I think, look, Southampton know they can't lose this game. Like, if they lose this game, they are down and out, then there's nothing more they can say about it. So I do see it being a very tense affair, to be honest, because I do think a loss would really put that nail in the coffin if it's not there already. Forest, I think, obviously, they do have good home form. They did beat Brighton recently, but I don't think they're the best attacking team, and I do think that even them, they know if they lose this game, it really puts Southampton back in it. They won't want to lose as well, so I see a very tense 0-0 draw.
All right, and let's move over to the star men and a star-studded lineup here. Phil Foden against Heung-min Son. Why Foden?
I am risking Pep Roulette, but I've gone high risk, high reward selection. He did come on in midweek. Pep was saying in his press conference that the team looked very tired, so he'll have to assess things. With the Madrid game coming from midweek, I do expect a few changes, not massive, but I think with Foden coming on and scoring, and the fact that he hasn't been starting too many recently, I do think he'll get a start against Leeds, and I reckon he'll fancy his chances of getting on the score sheet, maybe wanting to play his way into the team for midweek. So if he starts, I've gone for Phil Foden, but I'm just hoping he starts and has a big game.
Yeah, I've gone for Heung-min Son. He's in his best form of the season, and he scored 4 out of the last 5 home games as well, starting contributing away games as well with goals. So I think Sonny is probably a safe bet. Hopefully is a safe bet this weekend, especially at home in a game where I expect us to score quite a few goals. So I've gone for Heung-min Son. Sim has gone for Phil Foden. Let me know in the comment section below what your predictions are, who your star men is, and who do you think is going to come out on top this week, me or Sim. Let me know in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on.